Welcome to I Heart Geek. And welcome to another episode of I Heart Geek. Quick disclaimer, you don't have to ride motorcycles to like this show, but it might help. We are talking all things motorcycle as far as pop culture goes, so there might be a few mentions to Ghost Rider. A lot, actually.
I'm pretty sure there will be.
I'm pretty sure. I'm Dub. I'm here with Tyler, and I'm here with Skeeter. How are you guys doing today? Are you ready for this episode?
Yeah, man. Ready to ride off in the sunset on my steel horse. I don't ride motorcycles. I'm sorry.
Have you ever been on a bike?
I've been on them. Yes.
Dirt bikes, right?
No, actually, it was a was it 700?
Oh, right.
Yeah, it was something a little bit more powerful than I'd want to if I did buy a bike, but.
Outstanding. What about you, Skeeter? Tell us about your riding experience before we get started, real quick.
Oh, well, let's see.
Without bragging too much.
Started right after the Enduring Freedom Cruise in 2001 or 2002. Sorry, I purchased my first Suzuki Marauder 800.
The bike,
the blue bike. It was awesome. So much fun. That started my upgrade craziness. Ended up trading that in. Got me a truck. Got away from it. Got a cage. And then one day we were in Reading and decided I was going to go look at a bike, and I bought me a big old 1500 monster Suzuki Boulevard. Rode that literally till the wheels fell off. Got run off the road by a drunk driver.
Oh,
tumbled 131 feet. Out in the middle of the desert, out by Ridgecrest. That was my tumble experience. A lot of people were like, dude, you don't need to get on it again. And then after I got out of the Navy, I bought my first Harley, which was a '08 Street Bob. I turned that into a rock star motorcycle, super fast, super fun.
Nice.
And that was my last scooter. So I've been doing it for a while, other than being a service manager for Harley Davidson up in Reading for a year. That was a lot of fun too.
So now, right off the bat, we get into that. Motorcycles are not safe; they're dangerous. So what's the appeal? I mean, I ride, so I know my answer to this. But why you get on? You have a chance of you have a lot less protection than a cage. I'll put it that way. Why is there still such an appeal to ride a motorcycle? Tyler, I want to get Tyler's perspective on this since he doesn't ride. So what is your perspective on that? Why do you think people still want to ride something so dangerous?
Well, I think it's the cliche thing you always hear. There's a sense of freedom to it, it seems. When you're on that bike, the wind's blowing in your hair and you don't have care in the world. You're just cruising, if it's a nice day. Yeah, it's just that whole, we get attracted to things like outlaw culture and all that, and that comes with it. But I think that just that sense of freedom really is what really sparks it for most people.
Yeah.
From a performance standpoint, the thing that attracts me to bikes is, I do appreciate them. I like them. I got a lot of friends that ride, and it's just that insane torque that the bike has, and just that you could feel every pump of a cylinder, and
True.
it seems like a good time. I live in an area that's not real keen on with the traffic and the retirees, and I'm in South Florida. A lot of gray hair old ladies driving around, and I don't, not going to be riding a bike here, but maybe if I move out in the country one day, I'm going to consider it.
Fair enough. What about you, Skeeter? Why do you think?
So, nowadays it's totally different. Back in the day, there was a huge section of time in the late 90s, early 2000s, mid 2000s that people were like, I got to get a bike. I got to get a Harley. The fever was rich due to certain television shows, which we'll talk about later.
We will talk about a lot of those. Yeah.
The appeal, I'm a cool guy, the enthusiast out there that wants the brand right? Even if you don't get the brand, you're getting this appeal. But to talk about like the danger of it, for some people, that's that's the appeal, is the danger. But heck, I mean, not being insensitive, why don't more people go to the mall? Why don't more people go to the beach in Cancun? Like, there's just as much danger in those places, if not more, than there is getting on two wheels. So it's the freedom of it. It's twisting the throttle, getting out on the road, the sound, the rumble, and the camaraderie, the friendships.
Yeah, for me, a huge thing with it is my bike is the one place I will get on and ride, and you cannot think about anything else. You physically are not, you don't think about all your troubles. You don't, and that's the only place in the world that every one of my troubles is gone, because if you're not concentrating on what you're doing, you're going to die. So it's just, it's an amazing experience, because you are, and this sounds so hippy dippy, but you're one with the bike. I mean,
it's your moment of zen.
It is.
You're literally attached to it. There's in a car, you're in a cage, you're in a seat, wheel, outside. There's nothing. There's nothing between you and the concrete but 800 pounds of twisted steel and sex appeal.
Yeah. Now, I think in the 90s, and even into the 2000s, when things started to dwindle a little bit as far as the popularity of bike culture, honestly, I think one of the selling points, honestly, is people started to see bikes as more than just the one percenters, the outlaws, and people were riding because they enjoyed it and not because they're trying to, go do gangster stuff. I think that's, that culture still exists, and I'm not bad mouthing anybody in that culture, but I'm saying that there's a reason why they're called the one percenters, because most bikers aren't doing that. And once you get on a bike, you kind of realize that. But yeah, as much as I love in pop culture, which we'll talk about a lot, the whole outlaw culture, I want to stay as far away from that as possible when I'm writing.
So, it's very true. As somebody that worked in the industry, rode a lot, I was very connected to clubs.
We're not going to name any of them, but yes.
Right. I was approached
Everyone knows who we're talking about. Yeah.
Right. I was approached by very many, not just in Northern California, but some very strong ones in Southern California as well. And I always said that I'm a friend to many, a member of none. And that's just because if you were on two wheels and you're on the side of the road, I'm going to stop and make sure you're all right, especially if there's something going on and you got hazards flashing. Yeah. That's just my thing. That's the community. That's the culture.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah. A big thing with that is, and this is another thing I love about the whole bike culture, is the respect. I don't care what club you belong to. I don't care what you're wearing. Don't care what kind of bike you're riding. You show respect to people and they show respect to you. And it's something that's vastly missing in this world. And I think that's where a lot of people are drawn back into that.
Yeah, that's definitely another draw. I would imagine. I witness that all the time on the road. I'll be driving, I'll see two bikes, coming opposite directions. It could be a dude in a business suit and got another guy on a crotch rocket wearing his leathers, and they do the old wave, and there you go. You can see it. It's brotherhood.
And when someone doesn't show respect, that person real quick, because people really hold grudges on that kind of stuff. As far as this is real world stuff, not so much the pop culture stuff we're talking about, but but I think that respect thing is something that our culture definitely wants to have back again. And the freedom of it. So, and this goes with my next question. I want to discuss the similarities between the fictional biker world that we see on TV and Westerns. To me, they're the exact same thing. There is zero difference between Westerns, watching Tombstone and watching Sons of Anarchy. I know that's kind of an extreme, but
you even park your bikes the same.
We do.
You got the horses lined up at the saloon. You got all them bikes lined up outside the club.
But coming back to that's where I was saying that, a lot of people that are so drawn to the culture. They're drawn to that. It is a time of yesterday that maybe things were a little better in a lot of ways. We've improved in a lot of ways, but things were better in a lot of ways too. It was
right.
There weren't so many questions. I'll put it that way. And that's going back to being on that bike. There aren't any questions. You are who you are. And I think that's where the Western thing, the Bon Jovi had that fantastic, I'm a cowboy. What song was that called? Steel Horse, all right. Dead or Alive. Okay, yeah. One of those bike classics. But that was, to me, where I drew it together when I was in junior high or something, that, this is a horse. I get it.
Yeah.
Do you guys see the similarities with Westerns, or is that just, am I grasping at straws?
I see it.
No, you hit the nail on the head. I there's another cast out there that of two of the huge stars from Sons of Anarchy do, and I listen to it religiously, and they talk about, that's one of the biggest things that they talk about is the connection to the Western. Not the spaghetti, but the actual Western. Like, these guys are rolling into town on their horses. They're pulling up to the sidewalk or to the saloon. They're backing their scooters in. They're jumping off, swinging a leg. How we get off a horse, right? Swing that leg over, you step out of the stirrups. It's the same thing, literally. The gunfights, the everything about it is.
Well, I've never been in a gunfight with my bike, but I'm just saying.
No, but like TV, TV and those things, like it looks exactly the same. Like, you could close your eyes literally and put two things up there, and you're like, wow, side by side, Tombstone to Sons of Anarchy. It's exactly the same. And that's awesome. Great analogy, Dub. You hit that one on the head.
Yeah, and it's if a lot of things we're going to talk about, if you don't really get into Westerns, but you get into the kind of the biker stuff, watch some of the more modern Westerns with that in mind. Like, take the horse out, put it in a motorcycle, and you might enjoy it a little better. It's with me, it's all about perspective. And if I can change your perspective a little bit and get you to enjoy something that you didn't normally enjoy, I'm 100% in, because that's just one of those fun things. Okay. You know what? I actually want to hit one more thing on that Western thing. We're going to talk about it later because it makes my main event, but the comic book Ghost Rider, which I think is probably the most important comic book having to deal with motorcycles. Yeah. Just because it definitely put bikes on a forefront in the geek world.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So what they did, which was really interesting, is they went back, and if you watch the original Ghost Rider movie, Sam Elliott was one of the original Ghost Riders, and he was on a horse, and watching the horse and the motorcycle ride together, was just such a awe-inspiring move. And I don't want to get too much into Ghost Rider because I'm going to talk about it a lot in a few minutes. But but I think that was just one of those really cool analogies, because you see the horse and the bike riding together. I think it was just really pretty. Okay, let's step back for a second. Why do bikes fit seamlessly into every genre? I'll give you some examples. They're comic books, movies, books, bad guys, good guys, motivational books, motivational speakers like Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, which is one of the best self-help books I've ever read in my life. Even reality TV. Why does the bike fit everywhere? Every sitcom, you have the neighbor that's wearing a rag like this, and they work on their motorcycle, and they're in everywhere. Why do bikes? Is it just because people want to ride bikes and they don't want to be that close, or what?
Well, you have stereotypes that come with a bike. So if you need an element in your story, whether a comic book or a sitcom or a movie, we need this badass that's going to be causing trouble in the neighborhood. And guess what he's going to ride?
Oh yeah,
a bike. He's not showing up in a Ford Focus. Okay, so yeah, it's real. It's a really useful tool for putting a certain element in your story. Yeah, as far as your motivational, I mean, a lot of people look at bikes as a piece of art itself.
Oh yeah,
So,
I think it
Zen
is.
and the art of motorcycle, you're sitting there working on a piece of art. You're sculpting something when you're putting a
Mhm.
new set of pipes on or something like that. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
so I think it fits in a lot of places just because it is, full of stereotypes and the thing's a piece of art on its own.
yeah. What about you, Skeeter? What do you think about that?
It's so, I mean, thinking about, what, just like Tyler said, the artistry of it, you know, for a lot of people, that mystique of when that leather comes on, that rag comes on. I mean, no matter what it is, right? When you're in the Harley shop or a custom bike shop and you hear that rumble and people kind of walk in, if they walk in wearing a freaking polo shirt and jeans and they're like, they just stepped out of an F-150 or a Kia, you're like, oh, wow, that's somebody that may want to get into it. But if they
Mhm.
roll in the door and they're wearing a freaking full regaled one-piece patch, freaking all the colors, all the patches, the three-piece on the back, 1%er on the thing, you're not going to stand in the middle of the way of that person. You're going to kind of step to the side, because what does that command? There's a bit of
Stereotypical respect.
there's a bit of the stereotype, but as well as there's a bit of not fear but intimidation.
Yeah.
Just from that leather, just from that cut that guy's wearing, you're like, oh snap. Like, what's about to happen? What's about to go down?
Mhm.
And
And
I could
usually
go for
nothing.
days, but yeah, literally, like working at the Harley shop one day, a bunch of green bikes pulled in and a bunch of red and white bikes pulled in. And I went,
Ooh.
I think I need to lock the doors and go away. Well, it ended up just being a cool party up at the lake for everybody.
Yeah.
And that's all it was. The intimidation factor is there. And that's how they use it in TV and film.
Mhm.
And we'll
Yeah.
talk about that with one of my choices at the end.
So, but let's talk about how diverse of a tool it is as well. Like good guys, bad guys. I mean, you have, again, we'll discuss these in a minute, but like Chips, the ultimate good guys on motorcycles. Yay! And then you have Sons of Anarchy, the ultimate tweeners on motorcycles, because they're bad, but they have a soft inside.
They're
It is
terrible
what it is.
people.
Oh yeah, or the Wild Ones. The old Brando movie. And it showed that the bike is so diverse because it can literally be used for anything. And I think that it's just interesting that yes, everyone goes to the bad like with any stereotype, but I feel like it really can be used in so many different ways.
Absolutely.
Sorry, go ahead, Tyler.
No, I was gonna say, you're absolutely right. It can be used in a lot of different ways. And now you have more stereotypes coming with it these days because those guys on a big long ride might be doing a teddy bear run for a charity or something like
Yeah,
that. There's a lot of different aspects now that come with it. It's not just the bad guys. So
there's a lot of charity involved with bikes, but we'll get
absolutely.
back to that in a sec. Skeeter, go ahead with what you were saying.
So, I mean, going back to like Sons. So, I mean, and I mean, every analogy that's come up in the show so far, like white cowboy hat, black cowboy hat, right?
Yeah.
Good guy, bad guy. Look at the different bikes that are out there today. You look at a crotch rocket, dude, freaking, what does a crotch rocket say? I'm going fast.
Yeah.
Right. I'm going to pop wheelies going down the street and stack my bike up because I'm going to do an endo or a stoppie or whatever that's called.
And you can
right?
totally get a slap to the face for that, but that's my own opinion.
Right. So then you have the metric bikes. I'll say that works better.
The Harley Davidsons, which I'm a proud owner. Yes.
Right. The metric bikes. I've owned many of them and they're just as good. As a matter of fact, it costs a lot less to own one of those than it does any other type. But you can see the difference. And then you move up into this black ape hanger, like,
explain what an ape hanger is for people who don't know what it is.
So an ape hanger, standard bars, you're low, you're down here. Ape hangers are for ape arms, big long arms, and you look like an ape riding down the road. I personally loved them. I thought they were very comfortable. I had 18-inch apes on my last bike that were just high enough to where it was happy.
I have
but when you roll down the road, I had people literally walk up to me and go, dude, you look freaking monstrous. You look mean on your bike.
Mm-hmm.
But they know I'm not a mean person. It's the portrayal either in film or whatever in the culture of these things. And to hear people talk about it, like to hear the actors talk about it in that show, they're like, my goodness, like how many of them didn't ride? How many of them never rode before
Ron
the
Perlman
show?
Was one of them.
Like Ron, it was crazy.
So yeah, I think it's a fun study into what makes people because everyone does because like what we were talking about earlier with bikes always are involved in every charity in the world. They're involved with the Toys for Tots with the Marines. They're usually huge military supporters. They're there's the Baca Club, which is something I really like, which is the Bikers Against Child Abuse, which they will if they get the request, if there's a kid that was been abused, they will sit there and they will go to every one of their trials when they're dealing with them, and they're like, no, you're safe with this kid. And that's just some of the onion of the biker, which is why it works so well, I think, in pop culture.
Yeah, it does. I mean, the different groups that are out there. I mean, there's understanding. There's groups and there's clubs. So there's family groups,
clubs, yeah,
and there's clubs, and then there's
MCs.
1%ers. There's MCs.
Yeah.
So the family.
And we're not talking to you guys today. We love you.
Yeah,
this show is probably not for you.
Typically. The things that you see, and that's where education comes in. Like people have to understand who is what and what is who. One of the largest clubs that's been around forever that started in San Bernardino. That's all I'm going to say about that. They do a bike run every year for kids.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the largest in the world.
Yeah.
Every year at Christmas time, the largest in the world. But look at the stereotype that they get.
But nobody sees
too. The good things, and they have
earned it.
Yes,
not as much now, but and I'll leave it at that because I'm not accusing anybody of anything. But we all know the clubs used to be very. I mean, you saw what happened in Laughlin 10 years ago.
Yep.
It's a shame.
Yeah,
but I said that is the 1%. That is the minority of bikers. So what I'm kind of trying to throw out here is if you want to get on a bike, you totally should. You don't have to live in that motorcycle culture. Now, I will say this one thing. If you are thinking about getting a bike, go to your local community college, go to your Harley dealer, go somewhere. Before you buy a bike, go take the motorcycle safety course.
Mm-hmm.
This is my public service message. I wouldn't let my kid get a bike until he went through it. It's the best thing that I ever did before I started writing. I think it's an incredible resource that you have there. It's not that expensive, and let's be honest, it's going to save 50% of the people's lives.
Yeah, at least. And to piggyback on Dub, you don't have to have a bike to go take the class.
No, they
9 out of 10 of those classes provide a lightweight, easy to ride bike. That you can do everything that you're required to do. Don't go jumping on and grabbing yourself an Ultra Classic from the Harley shop. Ride this Ultra Glide down there that weighs 7,000 pounds,
or a Ninja,
and try to
or
take
something
this
along those lines
course
as well
that you've never ridden before, and try to make a 90-degree turn without putting your feet down at 3 miles an hour. Not going to happen today, kid.
Yeah.
So go take the class. I 100% agree. It was one of the best things that I ever did. And
on top of that, you might realize that writing's not for you. Out of every single class, there's 1 to 2 people that says, nope, writing's not for me, done. And I would rather you figured it out then than when you're on the road and could kill somebody or yourself.
Yep.
Because they say, we will all look out for each other, but if you're making stupid mistakes and you get yourself killed, that's yeah. So another thing that I want to say before you get your leather vest like me and research what your patch means in the back if you're going to put a patch. What are the no-nos there, Skeeter? Because I know you work with it a lot more. What would be considered okay and what wouldn't be?
So typically, your lone wolves, your one piece, big, fun military patch. Dub's got that. That is not related at all to a club.
No.
Maybe in some place in the world, there's the smiley face with the bullet hole. I don't know, but typically
it's off Watchmen.
Top and bottom rockers.
Stay away from it.
Is going to be your 1% clubs, your clubs that have to get the okay from the lead club, which has been around the longest, to wear that patch.
Are those commonly referred to as a 3-piece patch?
Yes,
the 3-piece patch. So you have your main patch and your top and bottom rockers. So whatever your top and bottom is, a lot of times they'll have the hip patch or the waist patch that says San Bernardino or whatever town, city, state you're from.
Yeah. Stay away from your city's name on your on your vest. Because
it's cool if you love your state, you love your city, leave it on your license plate. Okay. Don't put it on your vest. I have my vest. My vest is all of my cruise patches, my military stuff, and one Harley Davidson patch on the bottom. But all my other stuff, I leave the back empty. The back of my vest is empty. All of the rest of my patches are my military squadron cruise patches and like my rank and things like that. That's it.
Yeah.
I don't need a big patch on the back to do anything. For other people, that's their thing. It's like bumper stickers, They enjoy to wear that.
Yeah.
And they have it for a purpose. I truly believe that, in some places you're gonna get that intimidation from people, from club guys, young club guys that are trying to make a name for themselves, and it happens. But it's all in how you handle it.
Yeah.
Do you swat at bees when they fly around you? You shouldn't. Okay, because why? They're gonna come back and sting you. So you just let it go.
Yeah.
Right.
So how I personally view mine, because I love my geek stuff. So I like to represent my geek stuff, and I've never had an issue. I talked to the president of one club here in Vegas, and he saw my Green Lantern. He flipped out, loved it. We had a very in-depth talk about it. He goes, as long as you're wearing geek stuff like that and it's obvious, no one's ever going to give you any trouble. So, represent what you look, because the bike to me is part of what I love. So therefore I try to integrate the other things I love into it, if that makes sense. Now I have a question for you. I didn't throw this one at you before, but I would like to give you, and I'm going to start with Skeeter, then go to Tyler. Give me your top 3 to 5 songs that you would want in your earpod when you're riding a motorcycle, because there's something just different about riding a motorcycle, listening to music. That's not for everybody. That's not until you've been riding a while. But what would be your top 3 to 5 songs? I'll do mine first. Pantera, Walk. Probably AC/DC, Everything. Just can't stop at that one. And Guns N' Roses, Paradise City. I think those would be that's a fun 3. There's something about that era of music that just, you want it fast, you want it hard, you want it loud. Anything, any Van Halen, anything like that is just something about writing. What about you, Skeeter?
So right off the bat, every time I get on my scooter, there's something about the kick off of Cult of Personality, Living Color, that just gets
makes
the throttle hand just screaming. I'm a calm soul, so I need my Amber from 311. A lot of times I just throw in some Rage, anything, just because it's fun and it's very loud.
Yeah.
And then anything 80s Motley Crue, AC/DC, just because you get that, especially in that like Hot for Teacher, you know, or that Dr. Feelgood, that you know, because that guitar was the throttle, the motorcycle sound, and that's where I sit, like full on.
Tyler, you want to take a stab at this one?
Yeah, I've never jerked on the throttle and took a ride down the road, but I can imagine that it'd be pretty similar to when I'm alone on a highway in my car, you know, just trying to get somewhere and I got a long drive. So
typo negative,
if it's
damage plan.
It'd probably be there'd be some hate breed in there. There'd probably be some Gary Clark Jr. like Bright Lights, you know, something little bluesy, little grit to it, you know. And then I think some Welcome to the Jungle, or some sort of Guns N' Roses I think would fit for sure.
Nice. Yeah, there's something about that era of music. It's got to fit the idol of your bike, and that's kind of it's something primal about it. Okay, so let's move on to our main event.
Now it's time for the main event.
Okay, so for this version of the main event, we asked, what is your favorite motorcycle appearance, character, whatever in pop culture? What's your top 5? I'm going to start with mine. Mine is a book called Ghost Rider. It's not about the flaming skull guy. This was written by Neil Peart, who is the greatest drummer to ever live. He was the drummer for Rush.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to tell you the backstory on this one and why it's such an amazing book. His daughter died in a car accident, and 1 year to the day, his wife died of cancer. She kind of gave up. And Neil said, "I'm done with Rush. I'm done. I'm getting on my bike." And he literally circumnavigated the globe. He went all the way up to the Antarctic and all the way down through Mexico, all the way to the bottom. And it's just basically his diary of his everyday and his healing that he went through by being on his bike. And I recommend this for someone who just wants to ride and kind of see what it's all about. And I also recommend it if you're want to deal with stuff that's been simmering around, and this is him dealing with it, and it feels really good feeling him go through this journey. So let's start with Tyler. What is your number 5?
My number 5 might be controversial, but it's speeder bike in Star Wars.
I'll give it. That always felt like a crotch rocket to me.
Motorcycle. Yeah.
It's definitely
when they're hitting it through the jungle, it just looks so fun, man. Just it's one of my favorite vehicles from Star Wars and all science fiction, so I had to throw that in there just because it's basically a motorcycle. It's just
I definitely do agree with it. It's kind of I'd call it an enduro bike, I think, because it's got the speed, but it's also definitely got that off-road compatibility.
Well, yeah, you don't need a road, so.
But no, yeah, that's an interesting way to look at it. And even as far as the stormtroopers are on it, and even Luke and Leia when they were on it, they're wearing motorcycle helmets.
Yeah,
which I think is it was a fun nod. And again, this goes back to what we're talking about, how bikes just seamlessly fit into anywhere if you want to, because there's something so cool about them.
Absolutely.
Skeeter, what is your number 5?
My number 5, so I did a lot of documentaries, but I changed it up last minute. But Wild Hogs was a movie. I don't remember when exactly it came out. Tim Allen, William H. Macy, Martin Lawrence, John Travolta. Was
guys from OCC.
All the guys, Paul Senior and Junior, and then the bad guys, the Del Fuegos were the bad guys. We actually just watched it like 2 nights ago.
Yeah.
You had some of the greatest intimidators in the business, and these guys that were just enthusiasts.
It's the real world of bikes.
It fully is.
It was closer to real world than anything I've ever seen.
Yep. They just, they had beautiful bikes. The 2 Fat Boys,
More money than
the
brains,
Springer, and then the Sporty, and they just rode. And for anybody out there that's listening right now, like, if you want to get out there and ride, get out there and ride. But don't try to be something that you're not. Don't try to get out there and get crazy. Just have fun with it. Like, enjoy the wind. And that's what these guys were doing. They weren't this midlife. I mean, yeah, it was portrayed as a midlife kind of a thing, but they just rode and they had fun with it. And I really liked it, even though they were, a lot of the things were posers and when they got to the club, but how it ended up, how everything kind of came together was pretty awesome. I love that movie.
Yeah, I'd say that to me, as much as they kind of made the guys jokes, they really are the vast majority of bikers anymore. Like I was talking about, the 1% is the 1%. It is what it is. That is what 99% of the bikers are, is just guys out having fun, especially if you have some friends to ride with. I mean, there's nothing in the world like it. Not trying to put on a patch, not trying to do outlaw stuff, enjoying life. Mm-hmm. So I really do. As much as that movie's kind of a joke, I appreciate the movie. I think it's really good, honestly. Yep. Okay, so my next one up kind of goes with the speeder bike, and that is one of my all-time favorite comic book characters, Lobo. The best bad guy ever. Right he had the huge, and they call it a space bike with the skull on it. He is the epitome of the stereotype of biker. Yep. Heavy metal, long hair, Fu Manchu handlebars, bad guy, does what he needs to do, will do the right thing, maybe if he's paid right. He's the ultimate stereotype of a biker, but that is awesome. I mean, I don't like him when they made him all skinny and sexy Lobo. No, I like the big biker Lobo, and it's he's got a lot of great history. So it's if you're into comic books, and you haven't read Lobo, check out some of his stuff. He's especially the stuff that was written with parental advisory, because I mean, he's one of those characters that you don't want to have family friendly. You just don't.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't fit too well.
Well, I mean, they do it, but he's got to have that edge. He's like Deadpool. It's like Deadpool, if you can't cuss, kind of sucks.
Much better with the edge.
Yeah. Who's next? Tyler, you next on this?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Number 4, speaking of Guns N' Roses and motorcycles, Terminator 2. I love the use. I love seeing Terminator on that bike, man. There was just something about it. They put him on there. He's holding that big shotgun. Yeah. Buddy.
Tell you what, I want that holster so bad, just personally. Now, I want to tell you something. You probably didn't know about this, but Harley was having a lot of trouble at that point. Mm-hmm. And I guess that movie, quadrupled the sales of the Fat Boy.
I bet.
That
everybody
bike
wanted
in particularly was the number 1 seller in that year. And then it was the number 1 used bike in the preceding years. Like following that year, because Arnie created this look, this feel on this big old Fat Boy. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden people went out and just dropped cash and then turned around and said,
nah,
I'm not Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Right.
and it was the biggest used bike sold for a long time, because people were just dumping them like crazy.
It takes a certain body type to ride those, and most people don't have it.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a tough one to ride.
Just so iconic though.
Oh yeah. It's beautiful, and it's always been one of my favorites, but I would never have one because I don't like doing the splits while I'm riding.
Right.
Just me personally. Skeeter, what is your number 4, sir?
So my number 4 is the Biker Build Off series.
Indian
I
Larry
loved
and all those guys.
Yeah, I just it did so much for me in the industry, like as a motorcycle rider, when especially like when I had my Harley, like I was doing crazy things. Like I bought my West Coast Chopper's rear fender. I dropped the back end. I put a fat back tire on my bike. I went and got freaking pinstriping done. Added the ape hangers and the pegs and all of these crazy things to my bike to make it mine. And that's what these guys did. I mean, these guys were building these pieces of art, you know, I mean, that were individual, that were one of a kind, just beautiful things. And just amazing. I loved what they did. And it just made me want to do more and more and more. Every time I'd watch them, I'd be like, oh, dude, I could do that to my bike. I could do that to my bike. No, I couldn't. But I mean, it was just awesome.
I can't wait to see that you do that kind of stuff with the iHeart Geek bike. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Just throwing that out there.
Yeah,
just throw that out there.
It's coming.
So do we talk about any of those other shows? Is it on anybody's list? Yes.
Which ones?
Of the biker build off type shows.
I have the TV shows, but that's not one. Like biker build off.
Okay, that we'll talk about that then later when we get to it. I just wanted to make a point, but if we're going to talk about it, we'll wait. Okay, so my number 3 is probably my favorite outlaw biker movie, and it is strictly an outlaw biker movie called Hell Ride. It's with Larry Bishop, who is the son of Jimmy Bishop or whoever. Joey Bishop from the Rat Pack. It is Michael Madsen's in it. David Carradine's in it. It's fun. It's just it's vile. It looks like it was shot for under $10,000. A lot of old, thrown together bikes going across the country, doing gangsta stuff. It's fun. Right I enjoy it a lot. I don't know what appeals to me about it. It's got a great soundtrack, but it is what they wanted to get away with in the 70s with these biker films. Don't watch it with your kids around. It's not that type of movie. Tyler, what's your number 3, sir?
My number 3 is gonna be one of the ultimate classics, Easy Rider.
Peter Fonda.
Yeah, man.
My god.
Kicking down the road.
First ones I ever watched.
Them big long forks sticking out in front of them.
Chop
just doing the thing. It's it's another iconic, use of motorcycles in a piece of pop culture. I mean, you hear the song, you see the image, you just know what it's from,
Yeah,
and
the
everybody
Stars and Stripes bike is just so iconic.
And then all the people trying to copy it afterwards, and it really gave life and shined light on a culture, at that point. The custom bikes and the long
and what happened at the end,
wild stuff.
Yeah, you're not going to walk out of the movie with a smile if you haven't watched it,
right?
No spoilers. But that is one of those biker movies you should watch, just because it's even if you're not into the bike thing, it's just a part of history. It's as much about bike culture as it is about hippie culture.
Right.
Yeah, it's just a really good movie all the way around. Dennis Hopper, let's be honest, made his career out of that.
It's that rogue lifestyle. It's what it is. I mean, strap a bedroll to the back seat, to the fender, freaking head out.
And I think that's ultimately what people picture when they start thinking of riding a
Nobody
bike.
Does it,
that's the image that comes to my mind. That wind flowing in your hair type of thing. It's those dudes cruising down a desolate road. And
well, that's how Wild Hogs ends. Is Peter Fonda pulling up on this chopper, and his son ends up being and I feel like an idiot for missing it. But he was in not Casino, but Goodfellas.
Ray Liotta.
Ray Liotta, like he's his dad, but he rolls up, on this freaking bike, long hair, big old rag, just like he was in, Easy Rider, and he does this whole piece where he's like, "This isn't how we do this. It's not about the vest. It's not about the intimidation. It's about the ride. It's about the life." And he's got that whole sound to it, and it was just boom, like he summed it up.
Yeah.
One short monologue. It was awesome.
Okay, Skeeter, what is your number 3?
So, like I said,
Good pick,
I'm
Tyler.
sticking with TV. So, I loved Orange County Choppers or American Chopper. Just a fun show to watch. Watch those guys build and create things from just weird ideas.
Yeah.
The Snap-on bike, the electric bike, the electric cop bike, and these wild, stretched out monsters that these guys rode and built. I had the pleasure of seeing one. They brought a couple of them onto the ship on my second cruise, and oh my gosh, it was surreal to be actually looking at one of these bikes that they built. Just awesome. So to sit there and see that stuff.
Now, I do want to kind of throw a wrench in that a little bit. As much as, I think their motorcycles are a piece of art, and as impractical as they are and how you'd never actually ride them because there's no speedometer, there's no gas, you don't know.
Bunch of cake decorators.
But what my issue with that show is, I think it kind of dumbed down the culture a little bit with them throwing wrenches at each other, screaming, because it was so manufactured and it got so bad.
Right.
It's like, why am I rooting for these guys? These guys are both scummy,
Yeah.
And that was my big issue with those.
At the end, it really turned into this dramatic, blah, blah, blah. And it wasn't about building bikes anymore. And it wasn't about
the fights,
doing all this. It was senior versus junior, and, where's Mikey, and, all this stuff. And it just, I don't know. I kind of lost it towards the end, but it was the early shows that
were incredible.
It was about building bikes, and that's what it was about in the beginning. Mm-hmm. And then you could tell as the merch kind of grew, the OCC swag kind of grew. It was like, okay, these guys are getting too big for their britches.
Yeah.
And what's going to happen now? And it happened. We all saw it.
It should have stopped after 5 years, and then I think they would still be together as a family.
Yeah.
Right. And then you had the feud with Jesse. And that whole thing. I think that once that happened, I was like, okay, this show's gone downhill. But
as incredible as they were, I think that helped to kill the custom bike market. It's not where it was anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Because
you could pick those bikes up for next to nothing now.
You can get one of the ones that are on the show for $7,000.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
But again,
next
they're not. You're not going to be able to ride it because there's no speedometer. The gas mileage sucks. They're underpowered engines.
The geometry on them alone, because this is where my geek bike stuff comes in. Is you start as the more you stretch a bike, the wider you make it, the bigger and fatter and strong and heavier you make it, and then stretch it out. It changes the geometry. Mm-hmm. You put a 28-inch front tire, a 30-inch front tire that's 3 inches wide on a bike, and try to turn it. You better start your turn a block before you actually have to turn, because you're never going to make a sharp turn ever.
And they look cool, but it's not practical. And that's, and I'm all for doing these as showpieces, but I don't think it was ever explained well enough to people that were getting into it. I want to get a bike with a big fat tire. Okay. And then they crash it because it's hard to ride. And I don't think that they spent enough time saying, this is a showpiece.
If you want something close to that, get yourself a big dog that's got a good rake, a fat back tire. That's the fun.
Get a Honda Fury.
Or a Honda Fury. Yeah.
Great bike, but cheap.
Beautiful. That's the one I want.
Yeah. Okay. What are we on? Number 2?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. My number 2 probably would be number 1 on most lists, but I wanted to do a little sandwich thing, so I put it as my number 2. And that is Chips. My first ever view on, wow, people ride bikes for a living. That's awesome. And until you get older and then you realize, oh wow, they're on a trailer. They can't ride at all. Can they? But it was a fun show, and honestly, going back, it was the good guys on the bikes.
Mhm.
And I thought it was a fun show. I don't want to say it's timeless, because I'm sure that people wouldn't like it now because of some of the stuff that happened. But at the same time, I can still watch and enjoy it. Skeeter, I know you want to talk a little bit because this is your favorite show.
So would have been my number 1 all day long. Ponch and John, the whole interaction, the relationship between those two guys was my jam as a kid. I loved Chips. Anytime I was down at my mom's, I would be looking all over the highway for Ponch and John. Chips. Yep. And anytime, like, the greatest thing about that show wasn't just the writing, but you could flip a bicycle in that show and it would explode. Everything exploded.
Yep. I just tripped over a wagon. Boom.
Boom. Right. And then all of a sudden I was like, wait, I started watching it again as an adult, and I'm like, wait, that's the same scene. Like them pulling away. Oh, wait, that's the same scene. Oh, wait, look in the reflection of the car. And like tears, dude. Because I was like,
all the magic's
they're not
gone.
riding? Wait, what? Like,
no, I don't think Ponch knew how to ride at all.
No, I saw the trailer in the reflection of a car next to them, and I'm like, what? I'm all, no. But the cool thing was they came out with the remake of the movie, Chips.
I didn't watch it because I didn't want it ruined.
Dude, I'm going to tell you, as a fan, lifetime fan, awesome.
Okay.
It is so much fun. Dak Shepard, and I can't remember who plays the role of Ponch. Not for kids anywhere. Definitely worth the R rating, but awesome. And they actually ride the bikes. So very cool. I loved it. It was great, but a heartbreaker when you walk into they're on a trailer. I was
sometimes you should just enjoy your memories and not go back. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
there's those times.
But you have to admit, one of my all-time favorites, was the mechanic guy.
Oh, the nerdy
on Chips, the nerdy curly-haired, like the science coat, but he was the maintenance guy.
Yeah.
But he filled up everything with gas, so I mean,
Yep.
That takes a scientist.
And TNT.
Because it had to blow up. Tyler, what is your number 2?
My number 2 is gonna be the Bat Bike.
Yeah.
Love.
Talk about
geometrically
impossible.
Right.
Don't care. Fun.
Oh, absolutely. Because you just imagine this cool machine that you've already got that's super nimble and this and that. And now we're going to put rockets on it. We're going to put a chain gun on it. It just, as a kid, man, the Bat Bike was just so awesome.
With monster truck tires on them.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, that new one with the roll sideways flipping tire. Yeah, that was cool. Awesome.
No, I mean, that's kind of the part of that definition of geek motorcycle stuff, Skeeter.
I'm going with Jesse James. West Coast Choppers. To watch that dude, like he's
more of an artist than any of those guys.
He's an artist with a torch, with an English wheel and a hammer.
Yeah,
like
wild.
He can build. He took a bike, an existing bike, and he made it into something incredible. Absolutely incredible. And that, to me, and it was functional, it was rideable, it was everything that you needed to get out there and ride this bike. They weren't themes. They weren't all this crazy stuff. He was building a bike. And yeah, some people would ask for a theme bike or whatever for the show, but he always kept it true to fact.
Yeah.
Like, I'm building bikes. That's what I do. Don't talk to me about anything else. Then when he started to get big, and what happened? He got big, the swag came out, everything West Coast choppers. Yep. Everybody was like, oh, you're a sellout, dude. You get your pay up sucker tattoo on your palm. You marry, who you marry.
An adult star. Or
yes,
two, three.
Janine Lindemuller.
Cheryl Crow.
Then, he just kind of walked through this whole thing. And then Sandra Bullock was like, whoop, he just kind of settled there. But great show, great themes. I love the bikes that he built. I've ridden a couple of them.
He still makes bikes that are incredible that you just don't hear about anymore.
Yeah, no, he's in Texas now doing his thing.
Yeah.
And just doing his thing, just welding and building stuff and not in the spotlight anymore. And he's making guns now.
Oh, wow.
So I was researching, and he's building guns now. And it's pretty cool down in Texas. Check him out.
He always seems super authentic at the beginning. When the show first came out and you were seeing him, people ask him to do something. He'd just be like, no. And they're like, why not? Because it's stupid. He didn't care. He had his craft, he wasn't gonna.
And honestly, if he didn't have the show, he would have went out of business with that, with the attitude that he had.
Probably.
But he made.
I stood in that line. I stood in that line down in Long Beach to go check out his shop and meet Jesse James. And he was a real guy. I mean, it was cool. But I stood in a line and waited to go see Jesse James and buy some swag and see the shop. And it was cool. It was real.
Yeah. Okay, so number one. So my number one is going to be a sandwich of the first thing I said, which was the book Ghost Rider. Now I'm going to talk about the comic book and comic character Ghost Rider. We talked about him quite a bit, but the visual aesthetic of the flaming skull, the bike that's on fire, and then for some reason they made a new one and he drives a car now, and then I stopped reading Ghost Rider altogether because that's stupid. He needs to be on a bike. There's no reason for him to be in a car. Yeah. Anyway, the leather with the spikes. I mean, he defined what the bike uniform was. But I think it was even before. I mean, yes, originally his jacket was blue. It eventually went to black. But I think he really did define what these what we look at as the motorcycle. Just, I mean, as a kid, he was cool because he was on a motorcycle. That's all you needed to know about Ghost Rider.
It was badassery embodied right there. If you just said, draw me something that's just gonna scream, rebel and just grit and whatnot. It's like, okay, and there you go. That's what it looked like. Spikes on the shoulders and just freaking flaming head, And
I will say, go check out the Ghost Rider movie, the first one, not the second one. It's not as bad as you probably remember.
Dude, it's got Sam Elliott in it. What?
Yeah. Sam Elliott's incredible in everything. Second movie was really bad because it literally said, okay, well, we didn't make a first movie. Let's just change it.
Sam Elliott's character was
the best part of the movie, period.
Yes.
But going back, him riding that horse, which is like,
Isn't there talks of trying to, rumors they're going to try and bring Ghost Rider in?
If they bring it back, they want to bring in the new one with the car, and I refuse to watch it.
Gotcha. They probably shouldn't do that.
No, they shouldn't. Okay, what is your number one there, Tyler?
Number one, motorcycles in pop culture for me, just because I got done binging it a week ago. Sons of Anarchy. I was way late on the boat on that one. Way late. But I'm so glad I did. Good Lord. And their bikes, they got some nice bikes, man. I was saying, but that show just obviously got a lot of ridiculousness and the way over the top stuff. But
the Ireland stuff was a bit much.
That was the worst season. Everybody says it, even the actors.
Yeah,
season 3 or 4.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
We're going to go to Ireland and borrow bikes. What?
It was LA, Ireland. There was only like 3 spots that they were actually there, but it was all backlot LA. It was so awesome.
I mean, and that's the worst part. But everything else,
other than that
really in-depth storytelling. It's Shakespeare.
Oh, absolutely.
It's Macbeth.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing.
It was
and my wife would laugh at me because things were going on, and I'm like, I can't take anymore. Like, they need to just cruise for a minute. Good God! And it hit a certain point in one of the seasons or something. I'd be like, okay, I think they're just cruising. There's a couple things we're trying to figure out, a little mystery, and then the chaos just breaks loose again. I'm like, oh my God, I can't handle this.
And I gotta say,
they really embodied that MC vibe or stereotype that most people have in their head.
Yeah,
it's like if you were to ask a couple old biddies what you think these outlaw bikers do in their spare time, that'd probably be pretty accurate.
Yeah,
I don't know if it is accurate, but that's probably what you have in your head.
I would say it's in my top 5 of best finales in TV history.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I gotta tell this story because when Tyler he's talking to the group of us, we're watching. I'm about to finish it. I'm about to watch the last episode. I said, okay, well, do me a favor. As soon as it's over, and they play the song "Fly with Me," I want you to get on here and talk to me without crying. It didn't work,
and it wasn't it wasn't the stereotypical stuff either. It was. Saying goodbye to his kids about wrecked me. I got 2 boys, I was like, oh my God, don't do this to me right now. And then, some things happen and the main, letting off the handlebars and just going straight into it. That didn't get me. It was watching his son twirl the ring in the car seat on his finger. I'm like, oh my God. That show just knocked me on my ass.
Yeah.
But whatever.
Great show if you haven't watched it. If you haven't watched it, what are you doing with your life? I'm just kidding. You have a life, I know.
Yeah, I find it pretty awesome though that they could wreck a bike and just have another one. That must have been nice.
That's a bit ridiculous.
The flatbed shows up. Here you go.
I take my bike in for maintenance. I'm out for 3 months.
Right.
Peter, what is your number 1, sir?
So I know we don't do this, but I'm doing it just because I have to. But I'm right there with Tyler's Sons of Anarchy / Mayans MC. Some of the greatest writing you will ever see, ever writing with a W. They did amazingly. Sons, obviously, everything that Tyler said. Kim Coates, Theo Rossi, Ryan Hurst. Yeah. 3 of my favorites on the show. Katie Seagal actually won an Emmy for her stuff. Fully deserved it.
Best thing she's ever done.
If I don't really throw out other podcasts because I love ours the most, but Theory with Theo Rossi and Kim Coates is amazing to listen to how they did that show. There's one of my most heartbreaking scenes was when Opie dies, when Ryan Hurst gets killed. So one of the coolest things that I've ever heard is in the scene, there's the window. Okay. And Jax and Tig and Chibs are behind the glass and they're watching this stuff happen. And they're seeing Ryan just try to go at it at first, or Opie go at it at first. And then he freaking gets down. And he's right there at the end, right before the pipe. Well, he looks down and they have the entire cast, because this is his last show. Yeah. The entire cast of Sons actually came onto the set and stood behind that window. And you couldn't see it because the camera was on Opie as he looks up. And his face is seeing all of those guys behind the glass.
Oh, that's wild.
All of his brothers on that last episode. This is 5 seasons in, mind you.
Yeah.
They become a family. They become best friends. He looks up and there's all of his brothers from this show. And whap, it's over. Like, I mean, when the guys tell that story on that podcast, I literally was in tears again just because of what it did. Everything about that show, from the Reaper that's in the scene just before anybody dies, the girl with the blanket, the homeless girl.
Right.
They did not do what they should have done with that character. I'm sorry, that was a waste.
Until the end, right? Until the very end, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's what that is. But everything about it, the writing, Kim Coates, one of the only characters on the show who had the same bike the entire show. Even though he stacked it up one time, same bike the whole show. Just great acting. I mean, I could go through the whole cast of how amazing they are. Perlman, oh my gosh, for a non-bike rider, amazing dude.
He learned how to ride.
He learned how to ride. They all
Boy,
did.
He wore that character well, too.
They all did.
Yeah, oh yeah.
But also, one of the only bad things about the show is you'd have 40 dudes with guns and couldn't hit a single thing. So
it's actually they're stormtroopers.
Did you ever watch that video after Opie left? Did you watch that video of them behind the scenes saying farewell? They did they trimmed his beard off with a samurai sword.
Yeah.
That
was intense with a samurai sword. People were, I was crying on that one too.
Absolutely. I just met Ryan Hurst at MegaCon too. He's a super nice guy. Dude's huge.
Yeah.
And Opie was in the Denzel football movie.
Yeah, Remember the Titans.
Remember the Titans. Most people don't realize that too.
Ryan Hurst is one of my favorite actors of all time. Hands down, one of the greatest.
Beta from The Walking Dead. That's why we met him at MegaCon.
And he's a giant. He's a huge guy.
Yeah,
very into.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, very into super weightlifting and health and he's just yoked. Yeah.
So with that being said, we gotta put a pin in it. Thank y'all for joining us on our little ride today. If you want to learn about writing, if you want to talk more about it, drop us a message. We'll look up schools for you and all that other stuff. I think I love this stuff.
If you need help with buying a bike or need some knowledge, hit us up. I'd love to give you some insight. Talk to you about it.
Hit them up. Don't hit me up.
Let us, if you ride, let us know what you ride, and if you used to ride, let us know what you ride. Scooters are going to be allowed on this particular one. And until next time, I'm Dub. I'm here with Tyler. I'm here with Skeeter. Keep on geeking on, guys.
And now, let's see what all of our geek rock stars have to say. You have been listening to the latest episode of the iHeart Geek Show. Make sure you visit our website at www.iheartgeekshow.com. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And if you check us out on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And keep on geeking on to all of you geek rock stars.